Okay, now we're going to study about measures of dispersion. Okay, very different set of numbers, it can have the same mean. Now we're going to study two measures of dispersion, which will give us an idea of how much the numbers in a set differ from the mean of the set. So recall, mean is measures of central location, and now we're going to study the two measures of dispersion, which are variance and standard deviation. Okay, these two measurements, which are variance and standard deviation, it measures the spread of a set of observations. Okay, now let's look at characteristic of measures of dispersion. Okay, first, the more spread out or the more dispersed the data are, the larger will be the variance and standard deviation. Okay, let's look at example here. I have 6 data. Okay, let's say this data is about marks of test 1 for 6 students. So we can see that the smallest value is 15 and the highest value is 98. So here we can see there is a big difference between the numbers in the data. Okay, when we calculate the mean of this data, we will get 57.5 and the standard deviation will be 32.4. So standard deviation 32.4 indicates that numbers in the data set here differ from the mean, which is 57.5, about 32.4 marks. Okay, so that is meant by the more spread out the data are, the larger will be the variance and standard deviation. So we can see here value standard deviation is quite larger. Okay, secondly, the more clustered the data are, the smaller will be the variance and standard deviation. So what is meant by more clustered? For example, this data, okay, we can see that there is slightly difference between the numbers in the data. So when we calculate the mean of this data set, we will get 73.7 and the standard deviation will be 5.6. So the more clustered the data are, the smaller will be the variance or standard deviation. So here the more spread the data are, the larger will be the standard deviation. Okay, thirdly, if all data values are the same, that is, there is no variation in the data, so the variance and standard deviation will be equal to 0. Okay, let's say this data set, all students score 41 marks. Okay, so it means that there is no variation in this data. So when you calculate the mean, you will get 41 since all data are the same, and value standard deviation will be equal to 0 because all students score 41 marks. Okay, since that, if standard deviation equal to 0, when all data values are the same, so variance and standard deviation can never be negative. So remember, when you calculate values, variance and standard deviation, you cannot get negative value. Okay, not that. When we have standard deviation, how to get variance? Simply square value standard deviation. But if we have value variance, how to get value standard deviation? So we simply square root value variance. Okay, now let's look at example of ungrouped data on how to calculate standard deviation and variance. So here we have data about each of 10 tourists. So if you look at here, we have 10 data. Okay, now let's look at the formula of standard deviation as equal to square root of 1 over n minus 1 multiplied by summation of x squared minus summation of x squared divided by n. So n is number of data. x square is you square each single data. For example, 23 square plus 33 square and so forth. So summation means you total up the values, where summation of x is 23 plus 33 plus 12 and so forth. Okay, how to get these two values, which are summation of x square and summation of x? So here, if you look at, I show you summation of x is equivalent to 217, where summation of x square is 5647. So instead of we calculate this value manually, we use function in our scientific calculator. Okay, now I'm going to show you with this calculator. So calculator model ES. So those who are using model ES, so you follow this calculator. Okay, first, always clear data in our calculator. So this calculator, clear data, CLR is at number 9. So you press Shift 9. So clear all, number 3. Reset all, yes, you press equal. Then reset all. Okay, how to get the function? You press mod. Then you look for stat. Okay, statistic. So you choose number 2. So if your stat is at number 4, you choose number 4. If it is number 3, then you choose number 3. So here I will press 2. Okay, now let's look at number 1 here. You choose function number 1, which is 1 minus bar. Okay, here you go. You have a column like this. So for this calculator, how to key in data? For example, the first data is 23. Okay, key in data, you press equal. Second data, 33 equal, 12 equal, until last data. Okay, last data, 22. So here, if you look at here, you have altogether n equal to 10. Okay, where to get these two values? So this calculator, you press on first. Okay, look at number 1 here, you have function stat. So you press Shift 1. Okay, look for number 4, sum. We want sum values. So you press number 4. So here you have summation of x square and summation of x. So if you want summation of x square, you press number 1. So we get 5647 here. So if you want summation of x, you press back Shift 1. So look for sum number 4. Summation of x is at number 2, so you press 2 and then you must press equal. Then you get 217. Okay, this is for calculator ES. For calculator NS, so this calculator, okay, as usual, clear previous data. Okay, this calculator, you press mod twice. Mod. Okay, then you choose function number 1 here, SD 1. Okay, key in each single data. 23 n plus. So this calculator, key in data n plus, not equal. Second data, 33 n plus, 12 n plus, until last data. Okay, last data 22 n plus. Okay, now you get n equal to 10. Okay, where to get these two values? So you look at number 1 here, you have function as sum. So you press Shift 1. Okay, now you get summation of x square is at number 1, so you press 1 equal. So you get 5,647. So if you want summation of x, again you press shift 1. So summation of x is number 2. So you press 2. Then you must press equal again. Then you get 217. So how to calculate standard deviation? So you substitute the respective values into formula. So 1 over n minus 1, n equal to 10 minus 1, multiply by summation of x squared, which is 5,647, minus summation of x, which is 217, square divided by n, which is 10. Okay? So when you calculate this value, you will get standard deviation equal to 10.2. So actually, we can get this value from our calculator. You can check the value from calculator. So how to check? Okay, this calculator, look at number 1 here, function stat. So you press shift 1. So you look for variance, var here, function number 5. So you press 5. Okay, now you have 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 n is number of data. 2 here, x bar, which is mean, sample mean. So look at number 3 and number 4 here. So 3 is x sigma n, 4 is x sigma n minus 1. So note here that what is the difference between number 3 and number 4 is based on sample or based on population. So now our formula here is using sample data. So if sample data, the denominator we have n minus 1. So if in this calculator, for our answer is at number 4. X sigma n, so if you have n here, this is for population data. So now we are using sample data, we choose number 4. So press 4 and then you press equal. Okay, so then we get 10.20947273. So if you round off, let's say we use 1 decimal point on this, so we get 10.2. Okay, for calculator MS, so how to check the value? Okay, look at number 2 here. You have function as var. So you press shift 2. So again, you get the same notation. You have number 1 x bar, 2 is x sigma n, 3 is x sigma n minus 1. So now we are calculating from sample data. So you choose number 3. 3 equal. Okay, then you get the answer. So that's how we calculate standard deviation for ungrouped data. Okay, now look at for variance. So we know that if we have value standard deviation, how to get value variance? Just simply square value standard deviation. So variance as square equal to 10.2 square, we get 104.04. Okay, so that's how we calculate value variance and standard deviation for ungrouped data. Let's say from the calculator, if you want to get value variance, so again here this is standard deviation. So how to get variance? You just square the value. So here x square, square, answer square means that 10.21 square. Then you will get value variance. Okay, this is due to decimal point. This calculator also the same. So you press square here, answer square equal. Okay, 104.04. Okay, that's how we calculate variance and standard deviation for ungrouped data.